Well, Dragon Folk, the first weekend of ProQuest is obviously been over for a little while now, and I wanted to talk about what I had personally seen going into the meta and looking at the details of the meta breakdown coming into the second weekend of ProQuest. Welcome on in, Dragonfolk. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I know I am. My name is Ashen Wings, and I'm happy to have you all here in the lair. Today, we are talking about none other than the ProQuest that had just been finished up last week, going into the second weekend of ProQuest now. Wanted to talk about kind of what I've seen as far as the meta is concerned, and maybe what we'll see as far as changes go into the second weekend of ProQuest. So, first weekend of ProQuest, you can obviously check out this video that I made. This video, it contains my personal experience with ProQuest playing Red Hot Dromai. Now, I tacked Red Hot Dromai simply because I figured I was going to a very aggro-heavy meta. But it turns out that I was not actually going into an aggro-heavy meta. What seemed to be, my fear of going into Phi and into Briars and into all this other stuff, I ended up seeing a lot more controlling decks, more mid-range decks, specifically to overpower the essential agony that is an aggro deck, right? And with that being said, obviously there were some top 8s all throughout the world as ProQuest went on in things like Battle Hardened New Jersey, and even Battle Hardened Leeds. We also had a bunch of UK ProQuests. There was so many things. Let me just first talk about the one thing that blew my mind. Iris Dromai got top 8 at a 160 player ProQuest in the UK. Iris Dromai. This is blowing my mind. And shout out to Scott Mines, because my goodness, what a mad individual for doing something like that. So, Scott, I hope that you really enjoyed that, right? And my goodness, I can't wait to see the breakdown that you do of that deck. It's just mind-blowing to me to think that somebody went into a ProQuest with Iris Dromai and absolutely stomped the competition. Stuff like that is often things that you will see with a lot of people. Nobody was probably expecting Iris Dromai, and therefore Iris Dromai was able to take over a lot of the competition when it came down to their own battles. But as far as the aggro matchups went, what did we see pass? What did we not see pass? Well, turns out that pretty much the only aggro deck that made it pretty far into most of these games was Dash. Just about everything else, Ice. Icelander, Oldhim, Lexi, all of the ice characters who have tons of disruption with all their frostbites. It has really changed the thinking process of people who have been going to these ProQuests. A lot of people who came in planning to play things like aggro decks, even control decks like Dromai, and things like Viscerai and all these other things. They were coming in there with the sole purpose of going, I absolutely am going to dominate the competition with this deck. And it turns out that Ice is still king or queen, depending on who you're playing. But it has very much so shown that the Frostbites are here to stay. And of course, there are some heroes that do get over that. But if you even look at something like the battle-hardened results out in Leeds, you see that there was not a very diverse top 8. With a nothing but Oldhims and Icelanders, it goes to show that Oldhim and Icelander are very, very prevalent heroes, and that they get the job done almost every time. Now, obviously, it's not a guaranteed win when you are playing either of these heroes. You still need to be a good player in order to pilot these heroes correctly. But when it comes down to a high skill level, I believe that just about everyone on a high skill level respects and recognizes the fact that Frostbites are just something that is really, really good. And it's not even just specifically Frostbites. It seems to really just be these Aria heroes, outside of Icelander. These ice heroes, Lexi, Oldhim, Icelander, even Briar, doing pretty well still into this meta. I think a lot of people are expecting a ice meta once again. And at this point, there is nothing except new things to be released in things like Outsiders or whatever supplemental set will be coming out after that will be able to change that meta over time and really kind of switch things up, right? Now, there were a couple ProQuests that were won by other heroes. And I think one of the more important things that we see is that there were a very big diversity of heroes in the top 8. And it wasn't just Icelanders and Oldhams, right? Battle Hardened Leads was one example. But you had even the min-max ProQuest had 8 different heroes in there, including Azalea and Bravo and Dorinthia. So there are a ton of different ways for you to reach top 8 in ProQuest. But I think that now it's going to be a weird time, right? Because now everybody has kind of won with Ice, right? We had an Icelander win the ProQuest over at MinMax. And I would assume a lot of people are now going, well, I have to do something about the Ice meta now, right? But maybe that at that point, you're going to see the exact same technique from these pro players in which people are going to look at the results of the first one and go, I'm going to need to do something against Ice. And then the pro players are going to tech against Ice somehow and be able to overpower the other Ice players simply because they have the skills and the knowledge of how to run one of these decks. So, don't go out there if you're a new player, or like maybe you're just still like an average-ish player who has yet to win an armory maybe. I would say maybe don't go out there and just buy everything you need for Oldham or buy everything you need for Icelander simply because they are winning these ProQuests. You would need to do a lot of learning on those heroes first, and not to mention the fact that it's not a guaranteed win. You would still need to learn the hero and, kind of take your time to really jab in the information that you would need to really explore what this hero does. It's not just dropping frostbites and having your opponent end their turn with 4 cards in hand. That's not exactly how this game works. There's so much more to it. So I'm curious what you guys all saw at your ProQuests. I know I was very happy to see the diversity that was going on in all of these other ProQuests, but let me tell you, knowing that at the end of the day that it more than likely was an Icelander or an Oldham that had won a ProQuest just further solidified the fact that if you're not playing either hero, you may have less of an advantage going into the rest of this ProQuest. And for me, my ProQuest days are over for the entirety of the year, unfortunately. I do not have the time to go to any more ProQuests, so I will not be attending any more of them throughout this month. But I did want to say best of luck to everybody who is going to these ProQuests. After my last run-in with them, I was absolutely exhausted by the end of it. But I would say I was not mentally exhausted, so I'm very happy for what I had gotten through that. Anyhow, let me know what you guys had seen at your ProQuests. Let me know if you feel the same way. Do you feel like Ice is just here to stay until something new comes out to completely and utterly eradicate it? Should people be playing Thaw in their deck more often now, right? Any Draconic can be playing a Thaw in their deck. Let me know what you think. And while you're down there writing that comment, please make sure to like the video and also subscribe to the channel as well if you have not already. I like to bring kind of a meta breakdown or a look into some things over time as I learn more and hopefully get a better consensus from you, the community, as well as what I know to kind of help me know where the meta stands as far as things are in this Dynasty era. So thank you all so much for watching. I do truly appreciate your support. You can check the link down in the description for a Patreon that you can join if you wish to do so. We have some awesome tiers over there for you to join. I would certainly appreciate it, but it is absolutely not necessary. So, without further ado, I will see you all very soon. Nerd out.